Tawny Newsome defends Starfleet Academy as real Star Trek. Says new half-hour comedy is my dream of dreams. Tawny Newsome is about to put her stamp on Star Trek with her work on Star Trek's next two series, Star Trek, Starfleet Academy, and Star Trek's first ever live-action half-hour comedy. Newsome voices L.T. Beckett Mariner on Star Trek Lower Decks, which is about to enter its fifth and final season on Paramount+. Tawny's sharp comedic mind and versatility nabbed her a spot in the writer's room of Starfleet Academy, with Star Trek executive producer and co-showrunner Alex Kurtzman praising Newsome as a stone-cold assassin at San Diego Comic-Con. Screen Rant was at STLV Trek to Vegas, where Tawny Newsome joined her Star Trek Lower Decks co-stars Don Lewis, Eugene Cordero, and Gabrielle Ruiz for a lively panel moderated by Star Trek prodigies Bonnie Garden. Newsome hinted at the blending of tones in Star Trek Starfleet Academy, where Tawny got to be the comedy clown in the writer's room. Newsome also hinted at the Star Trek live-action comedy she is co-creating with Justin Simien, which Tawny calls her dream of dreams. Watch Tawny's clip from STLV below. Tawny Newsome has quickly become one of the most prolific voices of Star Trek on Paramount+. As L.T. Beckett Mariner on Star Trek Lower Decks, Newsome helped lead Star Trek's successful foray into animated comedy. Tawny's endearingly chaotic performances turned Mariner into one of Star Trek's best new characters. Newsome and Jack Quaid, who plays LT Brad Boimler, then made Star Trek history by jumping to live action in Star Trek Strange New Worlds' comedic crossover with Star Trek Lower Decks. Newsome calls playing Mariner her favorite jobs ever, and it's tragic that Star Trek Lower Decks is ending on Paramount+. But Tawny continues to be a crucial voice for comedy and canon in Star Trek's next two series, Star Trek, Starfleet Academy, and Star Trek's first ever live-action comedy Newsome is creating with Justin Simien. It's unclear whether Tawny will reprise Mariner in live action again, or perhaps play a new role in Star Trek, Starfleet Academy, or her upcoming comedy. But Tawny Newsome and Star Trek will thankfully be two peas in a pod for years to come. In the ever-expanding universe of Star Trek, few characters have captured the imagination of fans quite like Tawny Newsome's Beckett Mariner from Star Trek Lower Decks. With her dynamic humor, adventurous spirit, and deep love for the Star Trek universe, Newsome has become a central figure in this next wave of Trek storytelling. Now, with the announcement of Starfleet Academy, a new half-hour Star Trek comedy series, Newsome has taken the opportunity to defend its place in the broader canon of Star Trek, asserting that it truly captures the essence of the franchise. For her, the show is the real Star Trek, and more personally, her dream of dreams. This passion from Newsome is a testament to how deeply she values the ethos of Star Trek, both as a lifelong fan and as someone who has contributed to its lore. It's clear that Starfleet Academy, while a comedy, will adhere to the principles that have made Star Trek a cultural mainstay for more than 50 years. In her recent interviews and social media engagements, Newsome has made it clear that this show isn't just a lighthearted addition to the Star Trek canon, but rather a legitimate exploration of the themes that have always been central to Star Trek: camaraderie, exploration, and hope for a better future. Comedy and Star Trek, a perfect fusion. Newsome has long championed the idea that humor has always had a place in Star Trek. Even in the earliest days of the franchise, characters like Spock and McCoy provided a sort of unintentional comic relief through their bickering, while Kirk's larger-than-life bravado often brought a lighter touch to serious situations. And of course, we cannot forget episodes like The Trouble with Tribbles, where the show leaned fully into comedic territory, yet remained true to its core message of peace and cooperation. For Newsome, Starfleet Academy will carry on this tradition, showing that humor and Star Trek can go hand in hand while still maintaining the gravitas and optimism that define the franchise. She has pointed out that Star Trek Lower Decks has already proven the success of this model. The animated series, which also features her in a leading role, deftly balances comedy with heartfelt explorations of identity, duty, and belonging, much like its live-action predecessors. The fans worried that Starfleet Academy might veer too far into sitcom territory and lose sight of Star Trek's fundamental mission. Newsome has a message. The show will explore the lives of Starfleet cadets, with humor arising naturally from their youthful inexperience and the challenges of their rigorous training. It will showcase the personal growth, teamwork, and idealism that have always been at the heart of the Star Trek universe. A fresh perspective on Starfleet. One of the most exciting aspects of Starfleet Academy, according to Newsome, is the way it will offer a new perspective on the world of Star Trek. The franchise has always centered on exploration, whether it's exploring new worlds or new facets of human nature. Starfleet Academy takes that exploration inward, focusing on characters who are just beginning their journeys in the wider universe. Newsome describes this as an opportunity to show the more relatable human side of Star Trek. After all, not every Starfleet officer starts out as the fully realized leaders we see on the bridge of the Enterprise. Newsome's excitement stems from her belief that this show can capture the unique magic of being young, idealistic, and full of potential, yet often uncertain of the path forward. It's a stage in life that resonates with many fans, whether they're lifelong Trekkies or new viewers who have come aboard with the recent reboots and spin-offs. These cadets, much like fans themselves, are embarking on an adventure that is as much about personal growth as it is about space travel. Tawny Newsome, a lifelong Trekkie, Newsome's personal connection to Star Trek gives her a unique credibility when defending Starfleet Academy as true to the core of the franchise. She's not merely an actor cast in a popular series, she's a genuine fan who has loved Star Trek for most of her life. This lifelong passion for the universe Gene Roddenberry created has informed her performances and deepened her understanding of what makes Star Trek so resonant for fans across generations. In interviews, Newsome has spoken candidly about growing up watching Star Trek and how much it meant to her to see a future where diversity and cooperation were the norm. As a black woman, Newsome has noted how significant it was to see characters like Lieutenant Uhura, played by the legendary Nichelle Nichols, represented on screen. Now, Newsome herself has become a role model for a new generation of fans, particularly for those who may not have seen themselves reflected in previous iterations of the franchise. With Starfleet Academy, Newsome is eager to continue this legacy of representation and inclusion, making sure that this new series embodies the diversity that has always been a hallmark of the Star Trek franchise. She believes that the young cadets featured on the show will come from all walks of life, reflecting the rich, multicultural future that Star Trek envisions. Why Starfleet Academy is real Star Trek for fans who still may be skeptical about a comedic, youth-centered Star Trek show. Newsome has a compelling argument. In her eyes, Starfleet Academy is as much real Star Trek as any of the more serious iterations of the series. She emphasizes that the franchise has always been about more than space battles and dramatic moments on the bridge. At its core, Star Trek is about people, ordinary individuals striving to become the best versions of themselves, working together to solve complex problems, and finding hope in the possibility of a brighter tomorrow. The cadets of Starfleet Academy will represent that hope in its purest form. They're not yet the seasoned officers of the Next Generation or Deep Space Nine, but they are on their way, navigating the same kinds of moral dilemmas and interpersonal conflicts that define all Star Trek shows. Through their eyes, viewers will get to see what it means to join Starfleet, to embrace the ideals of the Federation, and to discover that even the newest cadet can make a difference in the galaxy. A dream come true for Newsome, Starfleet Academy represents the culmination of her dreams as both a performer and a fan. Being part of the Star Trek universe in any capacity is already a dream come true for many actors, but getting to help shape a new series that brings fresh perspectives, humor, and heart to the table is something that truly excites her.